All right, check the mic. We are live after another 10-7 game in the NFL here, Sam. Philadelphia Eagles get the win. They're 7-2 now, 10-7 over the Packers, who fall to 5-3-1. Some curious late game decision making from the Eagles gave the Packers a 64-yard field goal attempt that fell short, wide, everything landed in the stands.
Well, the
Anyway.
practice swing was short and wide. The full swing was just like there was like a shank to the left by a mile.
So I don't think it was as ugly as the Thursday night game. I think this was more good defense than bad offense, but there was definitely some bad offense in there. Some missed throws, but really a lot of just drops, missed catches in here. But it was a defensive battle, 0-0 at the half. Eagles made just enough big plays though to get the win.
Yeah, I mean that ends up in a nutshell being the difference, right? That Philadelphia got a couple of big plays out of their star players. They got one really nice sort of swing pass out to Saquon Barkley. He makes a guy miss in the flat, rattles 40 yards off, and then the very next play, they just take a shot to Devontae Smith. He's one-on-one with a guy and mosses him at the catch point, and that's a touchdown. And that ends up being the difference in a game that was, really tight, really cagey. That put them up 10-0, right? And then Green Bay answered with a touchdown drive. Josh Jacobs was like the one good player that they had on offense for the course of the game, but they never got the second score back.
Yeah, it's amazing in this game where, look, I'm entertained by these games because it does feel like every yard is really just hard to come by. First downs were hard to come by. It's ugly too. I mean, the Packers, every time they got into Eagles territory 4 times with nothing to show for it. They finally, scored a touchdown. Penalties. I mean, there's some ugly offense in there too. But it was just really funny in a 0-0 game or low scoring game. And when it was 3-0 and the Eagles pick up, it was 77 yards on 2 plays. The swing pass to Barkley and then the ball to Devontae, like you said, 77 yards on 2 plays. When every other play during this game was like fighting for 5 and just fighting to complete a pass and fighting to just pick up first downs and move the ball. And they just go 77 yards on 2 plays. Great job by Saquon. Great catch by Devontae Smith. That was the difference in the game. That was the difference. 10-7.
Yeah. And Green Bay, they had those opportunities to make those plays, and they just didn't, right? Jordan Love misses a deep shot to Christian Watson. If he'd put it in a different spot deeper down the field, Watson would have been able to come up with it late and put them in position for an easier field goal shot. They had plays that they didn't quite execute. Bo Melton dropping a 4th and 9, 4th and 8 earlier in the game. Like the Eagles got a couple of big plays from their star players. The Packers kind of didn't. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think ran hard and played well, but pretty much everybody else was not able to make the plays.
Yeah, really nice touchdown run from Josh Jacobs. Same thing with both running games. Didn't get really a whole lot going outside of, marginal gains. And then the Packers receivers, they were banged up. You could tell they were missing Tucker Kraft. He was just so dependable for them and so dominant the last time we saw him in the Pittsburgh game. We saw him, for a full game in the Pittsburgh game a couple of weeks ago. And then, Romeo Doubs goes down injured. They had some injuries. And just like any rough offensive performance, plenty of blame to go around. When Love was making decent throws, they were dropping them. I think a lot of them were tight. I mean, a lot of them are tight window. The Eagles make you make precision throws. And then Love trying to do too much on that one fumble in the pocket. I mean, those are the type of things. Instead of just taking the sack, he's over there trying to throw it, play hero ball, drops it. So that's another one of those lost possessions. And in a 3-point game, you just can't do that. So Packers made a ton of Eagles, great job. Their defense making everything difficult for the Packers offense. And then the Packers, when they had opportunities, they just did not take advantage, whether it was drops, the turnover, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more I think you can call the turnover a wash, right? Both quarterbacks had a fumble in there, different types of fumble. I mean, one was a peanut punch forced out on the way to the ground. The other one was like that kind of crazy, I'm getting sacked, I'm going to try and do something to get rid of it anyway. And on the way to flick it away, he lost the ball on the way up. So I think one of them was a lot worse of a play in terms of the quarterback's fault than the other one. But let's call them a wash and say they even their way out. I think the difference ended up being, Philadelphia had their star players made a couple of big plays. Green Bay's tended to drop the ball.
All right, let's talk a little late game, what we saw here. So the Packers They get the ball just over 2 minutes left. They get to the 2-minute warning. They've got 1st and 10, couple incomplete passes. And then it's so they pick up a first down right at the 2-minute warning, right? It's 3rd and 10, 9 yards to Luke Musgrave. They rush to the line, got 2 timeouts left. They have a 4th and 1, run a little, they get in the gun, run a little inside zone right up the middle in a no huddle. No huddle. We're just going to, run it quick, pick up the first down and just keep going. Gets absolutely blown up in the backfield. Jalen Carter, go watch Jalen Carter on that play, wrecks it. And it was an illegal formation on Green Bay. And that was what I just said to you. It's just bad ball, man. Just bad football by the Packers. They had a lot of other procedural stuff and just bad penalties tonight in the drops. 4th and 1. The shotgun run thing, like running inside zone into a 6-man box, isn't the worst thing in the world, but they didn't block it up. They weren't even set. And in that situation against that front, maybe it wasn't the best call in the world for Green Bay.
No, I mean, but even before, like if you go back beyond that, the drive before the Eagles got their last drive, like they got the ball with sort of 5 minutes and then had a series where they ran the ball and then passed it a couple of times rather than sort of trying to keep continuing queuing clock, stop the clock multiple times, gave Green Bay the ball, with serious time to work with, then got it back again. And, and we saw the crazy end of game sequence, but like they weren't running the clock the way I expect them to at all. I think that the shotgun run, the inside zone shotgun run, even against a light box on 4th and 1, I think is a questionable call. I hate anything that backs you off from the line of scrimmage. So either a shotgun run or, the toss plays we've seen where you're giving up, you only need a yard and they know you need a yard. They know you're going to run the ball. You can't give up yards from the line of scrimmage. Like the only thing in your favor is that you only have to get it a yard. You can't sacrifice that by backing off in the shotgun and giving them the telegraph play that you're going to run.
So it seemed like it was over at that point for the Packers. They only had 2 timeouts left. The Eagles get the ball back. They go run. And then it's 4th and 6 with 33 seconds left from the Green Bay 35. Your options here, a little pooch punt. You're probably not going to kick a long field goal. That's too risky. It's probably a pooch punt from the 35, right? And the Eagles go for it. And not only do they go for it on 4th and 6, they just throw a bomb to A.J. Brown. Which, by the way, if you've watched, we watch every game, Sam. We watch all 280 games, whatever it is, every year. Watched a lot of Eagles football. They are not afraid of 4th and short, 4th and 5s, 4th and 6s, just go ball. Low percentage go ball. And it has worked, right? Even just earlier this year, A.J. Brown, 4th and 4 touchdown. Over the last 3 years, A.J. Brown has caught some downfield passes on 4th and 4, low percentage shots. But it falls incomplete, gives Green Bay one more chance from their own 36 with no time left. And then they end up, at least, getting an 18-yard completion, missing the final field goal. But that's the decision where everybody's like, what are they doing? Going for it on 4th and 6 and just throwing a low percentage go ball.
Yeah. And honestly, if he'd caught it, it wouldn't have been crazy either because you've seen A.J. Brown make those plays. He didn't go hard after that one. Like it wasn't a great ball location, but he really didn't fight too hard to get through the cornerback, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, like going for it is one thing. Going for it with such a low percentage play, even with A.J. Brown, the completion rate on that pass, even one-on-one down the sideline, it's not high, right? You have to have a better, higher percentage play in the bag somewhere to get 6 yards. Like you don't need everything. Obviously, a touchdown completely seals it. But man, that was such a low percentage play. And now in this world where, 64 we saw from the practice kick was pretty close to being right there. You don't need to move far. Like you can't give them 30 seconds to go that short a distance. You've got to give them as much field to cover as possible if you're going to give them the ball back.
And what you could have done, so there was 33 seconds left at that time. If you do punt it, at the very worst, you punt it and you punt it into the end zone, give them a touchback. You could punt it, let it roll. You could take off 7 or 8 seconds, depending on what the punt looks like, and put them inside the 20. At worst, you put them at the 20 with probably 7 seconds taken off between the snap, the height of the punt and everything. So, yeah, that's why. Even the analytics said punt, Sam. A couple times tonight, the analytics said punt. Didn't hear Joe and Troy talk about that. Didn't hear them talk about the time the analytics said punt.
They did one time. They did at least say the analytics says strong kick here or strong punt here. But they didn't, curiously, they didn't use the sneering tone that time that they normally do when they say what the analytics is telling you to do.
They didn't like it early on. There was like a 4th and 3. I think that Troy didn't love them going for it. Which was, look, those are interesting discussions too, by the way. In a game where yards are tough to come by, you can talk yourself in circles both ways, right? It was, I think the Packers had 4th and 9 from their 41 and they went, but there was an early 4th and 3. I forget even which team went. And again, it was like, I disagree with this, but it's like, if your offense can't move the ball, you can either say, we need more plays because we need to move the ball, or you could say, well, we'll punt it because we trust our defense so much. But if your defense is playing that well, who cares about the short field? You're going to stop them, right? So you can kind of talk yourself in circles. If you go for it and don't get it, hey, your defense is playing great. You're putting them in a more difficult spot. That is trust in your defense.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's moving the ball anyway, so what difference does it make if they're starting at midfield versus deep in their own half? Like, that's, yeah, you can look at that in either direction in a game like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think conventional wisdom there is points are tough to come by. Let's punt, play defense, but you need all the plays you can get. and I think it was the Packers who went for it. They had a drop and it, fell incomplete. It would have been a huge play. They needed those, man. Packers red zone has been a disaster the last couple of weeks, both the Panthers game and then in this game, they finally did score with that Josh Jacobs touchdown. But there's something they got to be like 1 for 9 in the red zone the last 2 weeks.
Having been a top 5 red zone team up until that point, like that's the crazy thing. They were top 5 both offense and defense in the red zone heading into those weeks, and then it's just fallen off a cliff.
Technically, only the one possession in the red zone. Let's say inside the 30 the last couple of weeks. It's the green zone, gray zone, whatever other zone they like to call that thing. They've been bad once they've gotten in there. So big implications on this. Look, the Eagles are playing the Lions next week, Sunday Night Football, and there's still a battle for the number 1 seed. I think the Lions are going to be there in the end. So it's a great matchup there. Packers fall to 5-3-1. So loaded NFC North, and shown some weaknesses over these last few weeks. Some ugly losses for the Packers this season.
Yeah, I mean, their defense looked really good in this game, but this is it's not a bounce back performance from the offense, struggling and getting drawn into that. Like we've been talking about them as getting drawn into these kind of street fights, right? And when that happens, they don't tend to perform well. They don't seem to enjoy that type of game. Well, this was not a bounce back performance. This wasn't evidence that they could overcome that. The Eagles dragged them into that kind of dogfight as well, and they didn't get anything going. They got 7 points, and only that came right at the end when they were already in a hole. So, okay, you can say, look, the defense is really good. Their pass rush is fantastic. Micah Parsons is a monster. But like multiple teams now, and not necessarily the best teams in the NFL. I mean, Carolina did it to them. Multiple teams have shown, like, if you can keep it close and drag them into this ugly scrap, they don't perform well.
And look, I don't want to fall into the trap that I hate, which is if this game was 36-33, we'd both be like, man, we're going to 2 great teams. Just 2 great teams we're going to see in the NFC Championship. It's going to NFC Championship rematch. But because it was a 3-point game and it was 10-7, everybody's like, oh, these teams are terrible. I think my phrase on the Eagles for the last few years has been they can win any type of game, right? I have faith in the Eagles. I think they've shown they can win the slugfest. They can win a shootout. They can win through the air, on the ground, whatever it is. I don't know that the Packers can do that as much, but you're right. Like if you do look at it from a defensive point of view, you could say, hey, both of these teams can play championship level defense. They can make a run in the NFC, but clearly both teams got to play better offensively. But it's still a 3-point game between 2 good teams. So we'll see. It's a good matchup. We didn't do an instant reaction on Brian Daboll. I don't know if you want to do a quick reaction on that. We'll definitely talk about it full time on Wednesday. What was your initial reaction to Brian Daboll getting fired by the Giants?
I mean, surprising that it happened now, not surprising that it happened, period. I mean, we brought up the numbers on the show this morning that like they've lost 3 games where they had a 90 plus and deep into the 90s and a couple of them win probability. And they lost all 3 of them. He's also, the only good thing they've had going for them this season has been Jackson Dart, and he's now being hurt multiple times. It's at least in part because of the play calling. I don't know how much you want to say that's his fault as opposed to just, this is what this guy's good at. So we're playing to his strengths and that's getting him hurt. Either way, it doesn't surprise me, but it's a little shocking to me that it happened, mid-November.
Yeah, we'll break it down on Wednesday because Joe Schoen, I'm always interested by the GM coach that come in together. And it's like, they're together. They're tied together. Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, and how they both, like, one's out and one, Joe Schoen's part of the coach search now. I do wonder if this was a little reactionary, difficult losses, as you said, and four concussion protocols for Jackson Dart. From you get reactionary owners saying you can't get our kid hurt, even though this is your guy, this is your boy, this is your second child behind Josh Allen, right? This is your guy, but you can't get our future hurt, so somebody's gotta pay.
And that, like, the Hard Knocks, the offseason Hard Knocks thing, like, that fairly conclusively sort of painted the picture that Jackson Dart was Daboll's guy. Right now, how true or otherwise that is always hard to know. From the outside, you only see the edited version.
I don't buy it, Sam. I don't buy the edited stuff. I don't buy it because
But the point is, it almost doesn't matter in this scenario because they publicly put out there that Jackson Dart was identified by Daboll or was endorsed, was signed off on, was, Daboll is the reason that Jackson Dart is there. So even if you're like, the only good thing here is Jackson Dart, well, Joe Schoen doesn't get credit for that because they publicly put out that was Daboll's decision. So even in those terms, they have publicly said that he made that call. Like, he's the reason the good thing is there. So you can't even be like, look, this is my guy and you're ruining him by getting him hurt. Like, at least he made the choice.
I have many thoughts on that. I might save them for Wednesday. But the edited stuff that's out there. Now, look, before the draft even happened, I think I heard McShay talking about this, that this was Daboll's guy, was Jackson Dart. And then it's the GM's job. I like the way McShay laid it out on his show. He said it's the GM's job to go get him. It doesn't mean that Schoen doesn't like him, right? It doesn't mean that Schoen was like, oh, I would have been taking, Dylan Gabriel in the 4th and you're making me take this quarterback. Like, it's not like that's how it's positioned. Like, I don't want to get caught up in the captions to the videos. The videos aren't conclusive. And the captions are like, it's a Daboll guy. It's not a Schoen guy.
The point is, Schoen doesn't get to take credit for, like, I brought in this quarterback and now my coach is getting him hurt because, and that's why I've got to make this move, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the very minimum, you have publicly abdicated that and given credit to the decision for Brian Daboll, at which point it's hard for you to go, I brought in the savior of the franchise and you're in danger of ruining it. It's like, no, he identified the savior of the franchise. You may have endorsed it and gone and made it happen, but like, it was a collective call, which makes it pretty hard to then throw him under the bus for playing him that way.
Yeah, we'll break it down even more because I don't know. I just see it. I see it very differently than the narrative stuff. It's more interesting to me, high level. They both came in together. I don't know if you could clearly say one guy's done a better job than the other and one of them's out. So it's an interesting dynamic in New York. We'll talk about it Wednesday on the Wednesday update show. Big one. Extra show this week too, talking draft with Dane Brugler. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit thumbs up on this one. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you Wednesday.